Have you ever wondered, why is my FPS so low? What are the best settings to help me win games? Do you think you missed anything when you were optimizing your settings? Well, today I'm going to be going through the best Valorant settings for high FPS and for improving in 2022. First setting we're going to look at today is the enemy highlight color. Now, I'm going to be choosing yellow and I'm going to be choosing the first yellow option of the two. Yellow is a good color as it's a high contrast to most maps, as most maps don't have many yellow objects. This allows it to stand out, especially when paired with high digital vibrance on your monitor via your GPU settings, for example in my NVIDIA control panel. The next setting we're going to look at is the sensitivity. Now, as a general rule of thumb, your sensitivity should be from left to right of your mousepad, a 180-degree turn. One swipe makes you go from looking ahead to looking behind. Currently my sense is 0.32 at 800 DPI. Now there is a case to go for a very high DPI such as 1600 or 3200 and lowering your in-game sensitivity due to mouse sensor latency. This in turn means lower sensor lag and higher sensor resolution, which can be shown in the video linked below in the description by Optimum Tech. Personally, I'll be playing around with 1600 DPI and 0.16 in-game in the future. The next setting is raw input buffer. This is a fairly new setting, which is definitely beneficial and should be turned on. Aiming for raw input is always a great idea to help build consistency and when developing muscle memory. General Windows settings should be optimized to remove any sort of mouse acceleration, which I'll also explain later on. Now, your minimap. Your minimap is an incredibly vital part of your game, especially as you improve. You will be using it more and almost to the point where you rely on it more than vocal communication, especially in your ranked games. The settings I use for my minimap are 0.85 size and 0.9 zoom. Now, your minimap needs to have keep player centered off. The reason why is because you need to be able to see from side to side. There should be no areas where you cannot see what's happening. You need information across the map at all times while playing, but not too zoomed out that it's difficult for you to pinpoint the exact location of the action. The size of the minimap has to be big enough to not be a problem for you to gather information from. This means a quick 1-second look over to your minimap should be enough for you to see exactly what you need, but also not too big that's distracting you away from the game. Here are some extra settings that I recommend changing. You should have show corpses off. This may affect utility when you're playing, such as Sova darts or alert bots might be hidden under the corpses. Show blood should be turned off. However, because I make content, I keep it on. The reason why is because when it's off, it means you can line up for a second headshot a lot easier. Please set a push to talk key, especially in ranked games, because it's a team-based tactical shooter and communication is super important. Moving on to crosshairs. Crosshairs are very subjective and ultimately what you want from them differs from person to person. My advice is to make sure that crosshair is easy to use, it's easy to see, and it doesn't distract you or cover the screen too much to the point where you're missing important information. Make sure the color of your crosshair contrasts with the enemy highlight color. In our case, our enemy highlight color is yellow, a good contrast is pink. I also like to use white. Make sure to use your advanced options when creating your crosshair profiles. Have your fade crosshair with firing error off, and I'll also paste some of my favorite crosshair codes below for you to try. Moving on, we're going to go towards the NVIDIA reflex. This should be turned on to on plus boost. This only applies to newer graphics cards. If you don't have boost, just turn it on. As for the actual video settings, we want to turn everything on low, leaving two settings on: improve clarity and bloom. Now, bloom is actually beneficial. So Sova darts, when they're flying across the map and they get stuck on certain objects, they're quite hard to see sometimes in the middle of a fight. So turning this on means they'll be very vibrant and very easy for you to see and for you to shoot. I will link Riot News video in the description for you guys to take a look at. Enable HRTF in the sound settings. This helps for 3D audio, and although it's weird at first, it is extremely beneficial and you should definitely get used to it. Now that we've taken a look at the in-game settings, it's time to take a look at the Windows settings. Below, I've linked FR33THY's optimization guides for Windows 10 and Windows 11. I highly recommend you follow them as they are incredibly useful and will help boost your frames by a really good amount. Looking over at hardware, all of my hardware will have links to them below in the description. Firstly, my mouse is a Logitech G Pro. My headset is the HyperX Cloud Alpha S. My mousepad is the Endgame Gear MPC 450, which I highly recommend. My keyboard is just a mechanical brown switch budget keyboard from Amazon, and my monitor is a 240Hz Alienware, which is also linked below with everything else.